On HQ2, it was 14 months in the making and finally a decision. A member from the Indy bid team is here to talk about the good, the bad, and what's next after losing out on that mega jobs deal. Plus, it has been called the cornerstone of the trades district in Bloomington's Certified Technology Park. New business incubator and co-working space, The Mill, is now open and has designs on boosting Bloomington's innovation economy. And small town, big flavor. This month's Trendy Ana segment shows us some of the best hidden gems being served up along Main Street, Indiana. Details on those stories and much more ahead on this edition of Inside Indiana Business.
Stand by for Top of Show with music full. By D1 Sound, sponsored open with music. Stand by camera 3 with Gary. We're out in 5, 4, 3, 2, dissolve to Gary.
Hello and welcome to Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gary Dick. Disappointed, relieved, rejected, proud. A wide range of emotion in Indiana in the wake of Amazon's decision to select New York City and Northern Virginia for new headquarters operations. The Indy bid team worked very hard for 14 months on the proposal and through the process, talking with Amazon officials as recently as last week. Amazon called the Indy region's proposal one of the 2 most creative and high-quality bids of the more than 200 received. For some behind-the-scenes perspective on the Amazon bid, let's bring in a member of the Indianapolis bid team, Genovis Executive Managing Director Larry Gigerich. And Larry, as always, welcome to the program.
Great, thanks, Gary. 14
months, a lot of hype. You blow all the smoke away. How do you think Indianapolis competed for in Amazon's, I guess, opinion of the city?
Yeah, no question. I think the Indy region showed very well and competed well. I mean, think about 238 proposals initially, being one of the 20 finalists, and then having an opportunity to really go back to them when they came in for their visit and say, here's everything that we can do to meet your needs. I think it positioned the region very well.
Yeah, Indy, again, top 20. Do you have a feeling that it was a tighter number than that? Do you think Indianapolis, for example, might have been in the top 5 at the end of the day?
Yeah, I think so. I think clearly based on all the feedback that we received, if there was a final 5 or 6 places that they would have really focused on and announced publicly they were focusing on, I think we would have been there.
Mm-hmm. Amazon officials came in for a visit in March and went to a number of places. Talk about that visit, some of the things that that happened, and maybe some of the things Amazon was impressed with and maybe not so impressed with.
Yeah, clearly it was a whirlwind visit for them. I mean, they had 20 visits to make across the country. They took their entire project team to each site, which was great, so that there was consistency there. I think they clearly walked away impressed by our downtown and really impressed by the public sector, private sector, and philanthropic community and their work together. And then finally, they noted the diversity of living choices in central Indiana. You could live in a rural setting or you could be in an urban setting within 30 minutes.
How about on the negative side? What didn't they like? What did they question?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing from the beginning, we realized based on our population size that the talent question was the biggest one, and we knew that was going to be the key driver for their decision. And I think based on our population size, really understanding could we have met all of their goals.
Yeah. Some feel as though Indy may have, quote unquote, dodged a bullet by not getting the Amazon deal. Some in the technology community, John McDonald, CEO and a high profile tech guy, he had this to say when we talked to him earlier this week.
I kind of think a part of me thinks we dodged a bullet, because I want people to think a little bit about what would have happened if we had gotten the nod on that. Our home prices would have gone through the roof. Our transportation issues would have become crushing. We already have 1,000 open software development jobs in the city. That will get a lot worse. And then we'll be fighting Amazon for people to build our businesses. The truth is, we want to grow our tech economy. We don't want to have it taken over.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, I don't disagree that there have been significant changes in the market, both in terms of the technology companies that are here, home prices, infrastructure issues, no doubt about it. The flip side of that, though, is I think we as a region and as a state have to decide if we want to grow, and if so, what does that look like? Because if we continue to have a slow rate of growth, we're not going to be able to achieve everything economically that we want to.
Is that the key, maybe in the postmortem, if you will, that Indianapolis and more broadly Indiana really need to look at bigger ideas and projects and things that attract and keep talent?
Yeah, I think clearly things that are bold and aspirational, whether they're investments in quality of place, talent programs, and there's some things that have started. Next level jobs on the talent side I think will help, but we have to invest in ourselves and have sustainable tools that let us do that.
What was the talent? It was interesting to me that Amazon picked Nashville over in Indianapolis for a distribution hub. That kind of surprised me. Is that a talent play there in part?
Yeah, I think so. While demographically we look very much like Nashville today, the one or two differences that are key, one, they're growing about twice as fast as we are, but also what the type of people they're attracting are a little more well-educated than what we're attracting here. And I think that did play into it. And there were some connections between the Amazon team and Nashville as well that go back in the past.
Yep. All right, Larry Gigerich from Genova, some great perspective on one of the big economic development announcements and deals of the year, to be certain. Thanks for joining us as always. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Gary.
All right. We'll still ahead. Dow DuPont's massive new ag division, Corteva Agriscience, will have a big presence in Indiana. Indy serving as a global business center. We'll talk with new leadership about goals. But first, it has been a decade in the making, and now Bloomington's new hub for innovation and entrepreneurship is celebrating a grand opening. The city official is here to explain how the mill will impact Bloomington for years to come. It's time now to go inside innovation, brought to you by DMI, mobilizing enterprises for the connected world. Well, it's been called the crown jewel of Bloomington's Trades District and Certified Technology Park. The Mill is now open, a hub of innovation and entrepreneurial activity designed to drive Bloomington's economy for the next century. For more on the Mill's vision and potential for attracting talent, let's turn to City of Bloomington Assistant Director of Economic and Sustainable Development, Brian Payne. Brian, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Gary.
The tech ecosystem around Indiana is amazing to watch it grow. The mill will be part of that, no question. Give us your thumbnail description of what the mill is all about.
So the mill is a 19,000 square foot historic building that we're renovating into a innovation hub, co-working space, event venue, and flexible entrepreneur-friendly office space. We hope it's going to be a catalyst for wage growth and really a hub for the entrepreneurial ecosystem to grow and learn together.
You talk about the historic nature, and I think that's an interesting part of the story. This was an old furniture factory, right, for many years. Talk about the historic nature of the facility and what it's turning into.
Absolutely. So Showers Brothers Furniture Factory was founded in the 1860s. It was a very innovative company at its time. It dominated the residential furniture market for almost 100 years. They were among the first companies to switch from steam to electricity, the first to hire women and people of color, and even the sawtooth roof that graces the mill is an innovation.
Yeah, and obviously innovation is going to be key to its next use as the mill. Talk about the vibe, the atmosphere that you expect to be generated in the mill.
So the mill is a place for people with ideas to come and execute them. We have coworkers, experts in software development, lawyers, creators, people of all types who are interested in innovating, coming together to work and to learn and support high growth companies.
This is a big project, 19,000 square feet, and it's been almost a decade in the making, so it's taken a while. And this really will be the cornerstone, the anchor tenant, if you will, of the Trades District. Talk about that broader vision for the development there.
Yeah, I mean, the mill is the beating heart of the Trades District. It's going to generate startups. It's going to create wonderful activity. And those startups need a place to go. They need a place to grow and thrive. And the Trades District is an area we see for mixed-use development, for high-density commercial space where companies and ideas that come out of the mill can graduate and grow into bigger space and create jobs and wealth in Bloomington.
How do the assets that exist in Bloomington now, obviously Indiana University, great companies like Cook and others, how do those play into this whole equation?
Well, they're intimately involved. So the president of the IU Research and Technology Corporation is on the board. IURTC is actually in the mill. The chancellor of Ivy Tech is there. The president of Cook's on the board. They've been financially involved. And most importantly, they're a part of the community, right? It's been a real town-gown collaboration where experts from IU, Cook, and all of the folks doing great things and helping people in Bloomington have come together to support the next generation of people doing great things in Bloomington.
All right. It is a major announcement. The mill is now open in downtown downtown Bloomington. Innovation space that no doubt will have an impact on the community and really the region. Brian Payne, thanks very much. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much, Gary.
All right. Well, here's what's on tap now in tech news, served up by Sun King. Infosys has broken ground on its U.S. Education Center on a portion of the former Indianapolis International Airport site. The project, which involves an initial $35 million investment, will also include a 250-person residential facility. CoWork Evansville kicked off its opening week with a reception and free co-working day. The space, which is managed by the Growth Alliance for Greater Evansville, is in the city's downtown and includes conference rooms, standing desks, and 24/7 secure access. And for Tech News 24/7, be sure to check out InsideIndianaBusiness.com. Still ahead across Indiana, there are many places where you can get an unforgettable meal. In this month's Trendy Ana segment, we'll show you some hidden gems that are worth the drive. But next, Dow DuPont's new ag spinout, Corteva Agriscience, will have a major presence in Indiana. Corteva's new executive vice president is here with a look at what the company plans to launch in its first 3 years. Here's what's making news now around Indiana, brought to you by your Indiana Pacers. Well, plans are in the works for more development in downtown Fort Wayne. The new Sentinel reporting that Ashbury 8 LLC plans to build a multi-million-dollar mixed-use project near its recently renovated building, including some high-end condominiums. Leaders from the city of Hobart and town of Maryville are looking to collaborate on an economic growth plan. Our partners at the Times of Northwest Indiana report the communities could get together on projects including a casino, convention center, and massive mixed-use development proposed for the former Radisson Hotel and Star Plaza theater site. And the Evansville Vanderburg School Corporation Foundation has launched a fundraising effort to support a state-of-the-art learning center named for a former two-term Indiana governor. The Robert D. Orr Learning Commons will serve as the centerpiece for the recently opened McCutcheonville Elementary School on the city's north side. Well, it has been 9 months since Dow DuPont announced its new agriculture division, a combination of DuPont Pioneer, DuPont Crop Protection, and Indianapolis-based Dow Agrisciences to be called Corteva Agriscience. Now, while the corporate headquarters remains in Delaware, Indianapolis will be serving as a global business center with some 1,500 employees. Rajan Gajaria is the new Crop Protection Business Platform Vice President. He joins me now in studio to talk more about the new organization and what's next. And as always, welcome to the program.
Yeah, thank you so very much, Gary. A pleasure to be here.
Okay, let's talk about it. A lot of moving parts here, but to keep it simple, this is Dow DuPont's agriculture division, essentially. Talk about the new organization.
Yeah. First and foremost, congratulations on getting Corteva right. I was actually looking forward to correcting people. I don't always get a chance. So yeah. Corteva core is really at the heart of, and Teva, heart of nature. So Corteva is at the heart of nature. So we are getting ready to be spinning off as our own company. June next year is the timeline for us to be spinning. Right now we are the ag division of Dow DuPont, like you said. But it's an exciting space. It's like a startup. But with our parents, we have got more than 350 years of history. So yeah. Exciting company in agriculture, in technology, and really looking forward to seeing how it can be on the growth path.
Yeah, and a significant global company. As I mentioned, Global Business Center will be here in Indianapolis, another center in Iowa, the headquarters in Delaware. Talk about the kinds of things that will be going on here. Many people remember Dow Agrisciences on the northwest side of Indianapolis. Talk about the presence here, 1,500 employees, and the activities we'll be seeing here.
Absolutely. So like you said, it's a global company. We have presence in more than 130 countries. We've got basically two businesses. We've got the crop protection business and the seed business. We also have a new emerging business in digital technologies. But when you think about the center of gravity of where the businesses are, the crop protection business, which is a big growth business for us, a lot of that business activity happens out of Indianapolis. We've got a strong R&D presence in here. Innovation is at the heart of what we do. So a big, strong R&D portfolio here. Of the 1,500 people, about 500 are PhDs, so lots of bright people. Wow. A global presence. We've got here about people from 40 different countries based here. Also, a lot of our business, which is in the US, which is our single biggest geography, a lot of that business is run out of Indianapolis too. So yeah, we are looking forward to continuing to growing our footprint in Indianapolis. As the company grows, so will our footprint here.
We'll talk about that potential for growth, because you're an ag company, you're a technology company, so much attention on feeding the world and the need to do that in a smaller footprint. It seems as though Indianapolis and Corteva, Indiana, positioned pretty well to participate in that.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is right within our wheelhouse, so to say. You got it right. The global population keeps growing. But along with that is the need for protein. So as you see, the need for protein actually growing faster than the global population. And there is only so much of a footprint which you can create food out of. And so the productivity increase on a per acre basis across the globe is the opportunity. And that's where we play. We are the largest US-based company in this space across crop protection and seeds. That's the play which we have. But you're also right to say it's all about technology. And the technology is at a space where it's not only about what technologies we have, but agriculture is at an interesting juncture where you're going to see big data come in, you're going to see biotechnology, nanotechnology, drones, crop protection chemistry, all these things converging. And we are happy that we are in Indiana to participate with that revolution.
We'll look forward to it. Corteva AgriScience will be spinning out as a standalone publicly traded company next June. Rajan Gajaria, as always, great to see you. We look forward to following the story in the months ahead.
Absolutely. Our privilege, and thank you for the time.
All right.
Appreciate that.
Yep. Well, coming up next, smaller towns across Indiana are revitalizing their communities through food. This month's Trendy Ana segment, Yelp's Brittany Smith shows us a few hidden gems. There she is in our Inside Indiana Business Social Media Lounge, presented by the seasoned commercial bankers at Starbank, getting to know you and your business. Well, inside many small Hoosier towns, hidden gems can be discovered all over the state. In this month's Trendy Ana segment, we're revealing some standout dining that is helping bring life back to Main Street. Yelp Indy's Midwest Regional Director Brittany Smith returns with some delicious finds. And Brittany is always welcome.
Thanks for having me.
To me, interesting in this whole story is the fact that there are more than a few small towns that are really reinventing themselves through food.
Yes, and giving life to these spaces that maybe have been sitting vacant for a long time, needing to be reinvented and how they can be used, and this is a great way to do it.
Yeah, you've got a number of cool spots to talk about this week. Mayasari Indonesian Grill, that's in Greensburg. That's really become a destination, right?
It certainly has. It's not only a spot for locals, so a lot of these small town places, people are having to travel to go out to eat and find local spots, but now this is a place that's bringing people from throughout the Midwest. It's one of the only Indonesian restaurants that you'll find in the Midwest, 5-star perfect rating on Yelp, and they are known for their beef curries as well as their mango tea. I've been there myself, it's incredible.
Wow, and that's in Greensburg. Let's go to another green field, and Grigsby Station with, I think this is interesting, farm to table. Chris Baggett, the technology entrepreneur turned food entrepreneur in a big way.
Yeah, there are a lot of great things happening in that town, and that space is a perfect example of what we're talking about bringing it back to life. They're using 2 floors. They rehabbed it and put in a long bar that you're going to find there with craft cocktails that are using Indiana spirits, constantly rotating with different brews, and then bringing in local ingredients. So it's a wonderful spot, and they love the pulled pork nachos stand out in the Yelp reviews. You have to remember that.
Sounds delicious. Speaking of barbecue, pork, Jefferson Street Barbecue in Converse, which again, I think that's a great example of a really small little town that's reinventing itself and creating some economic activity.
Yes, they're creating a spot that's a family-friendly location that you can get classic barbecue offerings as well as catering, which is hard to find in some of these smaller towns. And they're known for their jalapeno cornbread and their pulled pork. Hoosiers love pulled pork.
That's good. Yeah, I'm with that. Let's go to Green Castle, home of DePaul University. Some of the town gowns, so to speak, relationships aren't that good. Different story in Greencastle. DePaul alum buys Bridges, and I've been there. It's outstanding.
Yes, I know we've talked about this before. And Bridges is one of those spots when you read the reviews, people are like, this is a place you would expect in Chicago or San Francisco. You know, like has that elevated feel. But that we can have that right here in Indiana in a small town is a really cool thing. So you're going to see great wine offerings, oven roasted pizzas using local ingredients, and they're known for their great salads.
Okay, final stop is in Madison. Some fine dining really at Crystal and Jules.
Yes, when you go there, great river town, you want to check out the Costa Rican New York strip steak, and their pineapple martinis are a standout.
Brittany, as always, amazing finds from around Indiana. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
All right. Coming up, Indiana Grown is working on a new initiative to get fresh, locally grown food into school lunches. In the business of health, how a new school food resource guide could help school corporations. Plus, a historic $40 million gift has launched Wabash College into its largest fundraising campaign ever. We'll talk with the college's president, Greg Hess, coming up. Stay with us.
Stand by D1 Sound, sponsored open with music. Stand by camera 3 with Gary. We're out in 5, 4, 3, 2, dissolve, cue Gary.
It's time now for the business of health, brought to you by Hendricks Regional Health. What's for lunch? Well, it's top of mind for Hoosier students every school day, and a handful of Indiana organizations on a mission to make the menu more local. Business of Health reporter Kylie Valletta is here with more. Kylie.
Thank you, Gary. Indiana Grown is part of a team that's working to increase the amount of local food on school lunch menus statewide. The organization connects Indiana farmers and producers with greater opportunities to market and sell their products locally. Indiana Grown for Schools is its newest project, and the group is cooking up a resource guide to help schools connect with local farmers and producers. Indiana Grown Membership Development Program Manager Heather Tallman joins me now to tell us more about the project. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
This guide sounds a little boring, the concept of it, but it's meant to show what farmers out there want to sell to schools and what they are selling. So why is the guide the first step to make this happen?
Well, there are almost 600 school corporations in the state of Indiana, and each one has a school food service director that really does not have time to chase down and curate all the local food in their area like they would like to. And then on the other hand, we have farmers who are making, producing, packaging foods they would like to sell to schools, and they don't know how to have that conversation with those buyers. Our hope is this guide will bridge that gap.
So why do we want our kids to eat locally? Why is that a healthier option?
Well, I think anyone would say that food that comes a shorter distance is probably ideal, whether we're buying it at the grocery store, eating it at a restaurant, or at school. And school lunchrooms, in a lot of ways, are kind of the state's biggest restaurant. And so we just want to try to maybe move the needle a little bit on making that easier for the buyer.
So I have kids and I buy most of the food for our home. Eating local is often more expensive. So how do you make the economics work for schools that are on really tight budgets? The
nice thing about this grant and project is that we have partners that can help guide the food service providers on what that looks like, between what the USDA and government allows for in their budget, between that and the education that the food service buyers have. But you know, when you think about economy of scale, when we have a large school corporation who's going to set up a routine and a schedule to buy, that will help guide the producer and the farmer to know how to price it. So it's really a conversation starter. We had to start somewhere, and hopefully the guide will be just that.
And you mentioned online also. It's not just a paper guide, but online as well.
Absolutely. It's going to be online. That way it's always going to be fluid and changing as we grow, and then a paper copy that will be dispersed about a year from now.
And your main call to action right now is for those farmers and producers to complete a survey. Tell us about the importance of that.
Absolutely. We don't know what we don't know. So in order to be in the guide that we hand out to all these schools, we need the producer to fill it out. Even if they're maybe kind of on the fence about it, we can maybe help counsel them and educate them on what it would take to go to that next level.
So you mentioned this guide. It could be distributed next fall to the schools. There are nearly 600 school corporations in the state, so this could really drive big business for the farmers.
Absolutely. We really feel like this is going to be an impactful move for Indiana agriculture on the whole. It's something that's relatable to everyone, and I believe there's a way that all different forms of agriculture can be touched in this, from sweet corn to bread to fluid milk. It's a little bit of something for everyone.
And throughout the entire state, county by county.
So a buyer will be able to look at that guide and see not only what's in their county, but what's in their surrounding county.
So in your position, you talk to a lot of farmers, and you say those farmers want to sell to schools, and the schools want to buy from the farmers, but this guide just really helps connect the dots. You're doing the legwork.
Yeah, there are not a lot of conversation guides to kind of help maximize everyone's time. We can't have 10 or 15 farmers showing up at a school saying, look at my greens and my corn. Likewise, we can't have a director feeling like they have to call these different farmers. That's not a good use of their time. We're going to hopefully funnel and navigate that information for them.
Well, Heather, thank you so much for being here. Great project, and hopefully we can get some good food in schools, local food soon.
Yeah,
thanks for being here. Gary, back to you.
All right, Kylie, thank you. Well, Wabash College has launched its largest fundraising campaign in its 186-year history. Giant Steps, a campaign for Wabash College, seeks to raise some $225 million. $150 million has already been raised, including the single largest gift ever given to Wabash, $40 million. This week's Eye on Education segment, President Greg Hess is here to explain the 4 specific areas of the campaign. And President Hess, as always, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let's talk about the campaign first. This is bold. This is significant. $225 million. Talk about the idea behind this campaign.
Well, the vision of the campaign is to really focus on our 200th anniversary, which is about 14 or 15 years away. And Wabash College has a terrific mission. We just need to make sure it has enough money to fulfill that mission for every Wabash student who can benefit from an education.
Talk about funding. This is a big number, $225 million for the campaign. Have already raised $150, including, and this was just announced about a week ago or so, $40 million, the largest single gift ever given.
Yeah, it's just incredibly transformational and just incredibly inspirational for the college, for its students, and for other alums out there, some of whom have also made large gifts and others who are thinking about it.
Talk about the 4 kind of key areas of the campaign.
Yeah. So the first one is scholarship. We want to make sure that students can afford Wabash College and that we can fulfill what we call our Wabash Promise to provide a transformational education for families regardless of their economic circumstances. You know, so much about higher ed is talent, so not only do we need to recruit the best students, but we also need to put them in front of the best faculty. So the second component is really just making sure we get the best faculty and we can support them the way they need to. You know, we also recognized in the final 2 pieces that we need to have good places for them to meet together, to play sports, to be in the classrooms, the libraries, media, all the rest. And then finally, our last big piece of the Giant Steps campaign is to remind people that we need to engage the next generation of alumni. So that final piece is just engaging with alumni, the 80s alums, the 90s alums, who are going to carry the ball forward for the next, for our 3rd century.
Yeah. You mentioned scholarships, and affordability has become such an issue, as obviously you well know in higher education. Talk about the importance of affordability and how colleges like Wabash are really attacking that.
That's right. Well, you know, what parents really want for their sons is a very high quality education. And it turns out that quality is pretty closely related to cost. You know, we do have to spend a lot in order to provide that transformational education. But we do recognize that not all families can afford that transformational education, even though our society benefits from it, the state benefits from it, our world benefits from students getting great education. So what we do is we spend a lot of time working with donors to help them think about scholarships as the way to give back to the next generation of students, to help them, to give them opportunities for success in the future. Scholarships is a huge piece of the Wabash College Giant Steps campaign.
Now I've got to believe that strength of that alumni network and that connection that remains with your graduates. I mentioned the $40 million gift. Paul and Betty, is it Wools?
Yes, Wools.
Huge gift, $40 million. The reaction of people like that who are giving at various levels.
It is just an incredibly joyful situation. When you go and you talk to people about transformational gifts, you know, you just can't believe how grateful they are to give these types of resources to a college that did so much for them.
All right.
It's a wonderful story.
$225 million. You're a lot of way along the road to getting there. Greg Hess is the president of Wabash College. A very big and ambitious campaign, making a lot of progress, doing a lot of great things. Thanks for being with us as always.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, a reminder, all of our Eye on Education segments can be found at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. And if you have an interesting story idea, please send it to segment producer Tara Twig at ttwig@growindiana.net. Still ahead, our insiders will sound off on some of the week's top stories. But first, Cityway, the 10-acre quality of life neighborhood in the heart of downtown Indianapolis, already home to a 200-plus room luxury hotel, apartments, restaurants, and retail. It's expanding and adding to the city skyline. Progress continues on the $135 million second phase of the Cityway development in downtown Indianapolis. Our Mary Rachel Redmond has an update on the Cityway 2.0 project.
Cityway was one of downtown Indy's first mixed-use developments targeting quality of life. Now, thanks to popular demand, work is underway on Cityway 2.0.
Building on the success of Phase 1, Phase 2 incorporates additional mixed-use components, 400 new units, additional retail, and opportunities for a variety of housing opportunities.
Also joining Cityway 2.0 is Taxman Brewing Company. The Burgersville-based brewery is renovating a mid-1800s era livery building into a gastropub and beer garden. Co-owner Leah Holzebush tells me Cityway is their ideal place for expansion.
We're going to invest about just under $1 million into this property, into the developing Taxman Cityway. We are going to do a complete remodel of it and actually add on a building. It's going to have 3,000 square foot of patio space and about 200 seats. We're excited to have more of a central location. I think there's a lot of tourists coming into Indianapolis, as well as people going out for the Pacers games and to see the Colts play. And it'll be a great opportunity for people to have somewhere to go for a drink and for dinner before or after, and just a central hub for our business.
This was, the first real driver for new development in downtown from our perspective. It took a vastly underutilized section of the city and transformed it. There's over $200 million of new development through Phase 2, and it's a destination. It's a place people want to be.
As far as a timeline for Cityway's Phase 2, Gallmeyer tells me he expects the project to be completed by mid to late next year. In downtown Indianapolis, Mary Rachel Redmond, Inside Indiana Business.
All right, Mary Rachel, thank you. Well, coming up, our insiders are getting warmed up to sound off on Amazon's decision to bypass Indy. Infosys breaks ground on its Indy campus and a lot more. There they are in the Inside Indiana Business Social Media Lounge, presented by the seasoned commercial bankers at Star Bank, getting to know you and your business. Well, each week a group of insiders joins me to offer perspective on some of the week's top stories. This week sounding off on the big story, Amazon's split decision. Also, Infosys breaking ground on a major USA education campus in Indianapolis. We'll talk about those stories and a lot more. Our insiders this week, TechPoint President and CEO Mike Langelier. Also, Clear Object CEO John McDonald. And One Zone President Mo Merhoff, One Zone, the Chamber of Commerce for Fishers, and also Carmel. And welcome one and all to another edition of the Insiders, the Amazon edition, I guess, this time around. It was the big announcement everyone had waited for. Mo, I'll start with you. Just your reaction. Amazon, of course, picking New York City and Northern Virginia, bypassing Indianapolis. Indy made the top 20, the Indy region. Your thoughts?
First of all, I do think that a top 20 is a perk. That's wonderful. We should feel complimented about that. However, I think the Nashville announcement stung just a bit because, gosh, that seems like we would have been a player then. I understand that there's some personnel involved with someone who's on the committee to choose the sites actually used to do economic development for Nashville.
And that was to explain, Nashville, as part of this announcement, was chosen for a logistics hub, a center, operations center. Nashville was chosen for a big investment.
Right. So obviously Nashville has won a lot of accolades. They're pretty hot right now for a lot of reasons. They very strategically focused on recognizing where their needs were and then gone after them. And they're kind of all in on that. So instead of the myriad groups doing different things with workforce, they've got a little bit of a combined focus on that. And so that one, I would have thought we would have been an excellent site for that. I hope it can be a process and that we don't just say, well, that didn't happen. So maybe from that we have takeaways that we can change and work on so that the next opportunity like that makes the most sense for us.
Yeah, I think I agree. It's practical to understand why Amazon would say for the 50,000, 25, and 25,000 they would pick the major metro corridor between New York City and DC. Nashville was a surprise, and I think the thing that we need to kind of be startled by is the comment that the Amazon SVP Jay Carney said, it's a city pointing toward the future. It made itself very appealing for investment. It's a place where if people don't already live there, they're excited about moving there. That's always an important issue for us. And I think one of the things that we knew going into the bid process was Amazon, one of the allures of Amazon was that it's a big consumer name, right? And that 50% of the people that work at Amazon in Seattle moved from somewhere else to work there. And so that's one of the attraction points. Where and Nashville has this trend going on as well, where about 30% of their population is moving in, not only from not from Tennessee, but not even from surrounding states, from other places. And so that's something that we've got to own that as well and create that same kind of dynamic, because we have a lot of positive momentum. But I think I agree. There's truth in John's comment that we dodged a bullet. Like there would be consequences of that if we had 50,000 jobs, for example. But I also think there's danger in that in that comment, because it can lead people to rest on their laurels and to say, hey, we're okay. Like let's kind of just let's take the slow and steady path. We're at a place where we can't afford to do that, and I really think that we have to look back at when Indianapolis has really made steps in the past, in the 70s and 80s, and what we do with sports. And we didn't just try to attract talent or to attract economic vitality. We hunted it. Like we hunted organizations to go after it. We hunted talent to come after, to come to the city. We have to do that again, and because otherwise we risk not being able to actualize our full potential.
Well, I want to get to that and what's next in a minute, but John, to your comments, you were very great things to say about the bid process and the folks putting the work in. But you contend that, and others have expressed the same sentiment, is that may have dodged a bullet because of what it would have meant.
Traffic, housing costs, but most importantly, talent and skills. We are already crushed trying to get people to work for our tech companies. This would have made it so much worse because the mechanisms for delivering talent to us, either from flying in from other places to work here or delivering it locally, are just, they're bent, right? And we have to figure out how to get organized and address that issue, that we keep coming up last and final and behind everybody else. Not going to work for us to land places like that if we don't fix it.
So what's next? Because I hear this, and I've heard it from others too, that Indianapolis, Indiana more broadly needs to be aspirational and invest in talent, and cheapest isn't always better, the cost of doing business thing. A number of those themes kind of came out of the announcement here.
Well, to John's point, I think identifying the reasons and the lessons to take away, and then organizing ourselves to do something about them. And this isn't something we haven't done in the past, and it's not something that the business community certainly couldn't or wouldn't get behind. I think the influx of people is also true. Our workforce issues are not just that we can't get Johnny to want to be an electrician. It's that we are behind in the number of people who are moving into our state. We lag. If we just had the average influx of the other 50 states, we'd have more people to be able to train for these jobs. That's not happening.
We've made really good strides in doing things to pipeline in talent from schools, for example. The extern program is an example of that. Bringing in, we had over 1,800 applicants. Over 1,600 of them are software engineers, data scientists, cybersecurity, or IT. We have an absorption rate challenge that we have to have employers that absorb that talent at a faster rate so that we can ingest it. The talent that we have readily available. But the other thing is we've got to get super serious about not just attracting and marketing to, but hunting and selling to the talent that is in other parts of the country and making the case for why this is the place to be.
Can this, John, in your view, serve as a wake-up call in a sense when it comes to talent? The state and others, the tech community have been talking about this talent some would say a talent crisis that we need to do it. Is this a wake-up call?
Look at what happened here. Just this amazing collaboration between people like Mayor Fadness and Mayor Hogshead and the Indy Chamber, Michael Huber, and all these people that come together. We have to be ready to do that every week and proactively going after these things, not waiting for these bids to come out. It's like a Super Bowl bid every week. And when you look at the scene and ask, what's the clunker in our story? It's this talent issue. And so we have to have that same sense of energy of coming together to go fix that, or we're going to continue to place second, third, or 20th.
Yeah, I want to hit on a couple of other announcements this week that deal to an extent with the talent situation in Fishers. You mentioned Mayor Fadness. New $14 million project, this hub and spoke design center, which the roots are in Carmel, but they're going to have this center. Talk about that.
If you're trying to develop a new process, a new sort of design ethos, some product that you're trying to build, maybe it's for design, for construction, for architecture. This is really difficult if you don't have a nice place to do this and sort of tinker and work. And so some of the leaders in Hamilton County who have been in this business say we need to figure out a place, a maker space is what they call this, where we can invite entrepreneurs to come in. And that's just more of the exact same theme that you see over and over again from the city of Fishers. It started with Launch Fishers, the IoT lab, the yard for culinary things, and now here for maker space for people that are in the physical trades.
Well, again, adds one more layer to that Fisher story.
Exactly, the place for entrepreneurs, and that has huge benefits. First of all, it's the encouragement of a younger entrepreneur, a younger tinkerer who's on to a new idea, to find the place to grow our own new businesses and to create excitement around that. Fishers has done a fantastic job, and their model really could be utilized in a lot more places throughout Indiana to be able to create the kind of spaces that attract the people that we're all after.
Mike, another big announcement this week, Infosys, the Indian tech giant, committed to 3,000 jobs over time, breaking ground on its big USA training center at the old airport site.
Yeah, this is a great example, and I think it gets lost in the 2,000 jobs or 3,000 jobs. You know, later it made bigger to 3,000 jobs. What's really going on here? This is not just an employment hub. That was the initial announcement. This is something bigger, which is they're going to hire 10,000 people across North America. Every one of them is going to cycle through this training center for 8 to 12 weeks in order to get trained. So I think it's great for two things. One, it's kind of educational tourism. We're bringing people in from other parts of the country to come here. That's a great thing. The other thing is it's setting a terrific example and even creating a resource where really some substantive training is going to happen, and then talent is going to get applied to specific projects to go work on clients that they have, many locally, like Lilly, Cummins, Anthem, et cetera. So this is a big deal. It's a 250-seat facility, initially 125,000 square feet. It's going to be, phase 2 is going to be even bigger, so it's a big deal.
To you on this one too, Mike, more news, more development happening in Fort Wayne. Importance of, we've been talking a lot about central Indiana here this week, but there are other pockets around the state that are doing things as well.
I love to see places like Fort Wayne, on a roll too. In talking with a friend of mine, Eric Doden, up there, who's at the chamber leadership there, he said that in last year they had $1 billion in housing permits, and they're on track to do the same this year. And so just a tremendous amount of momentum around the Electric Works facility there. The housing prices, he said some of the stories that he's heard of, the houses going from $25,000 pre-Electric Works to $125,000 post-Electric Works. So that's the kind of placemaking and development that we do.
Well, and I heard it again today, but the heading up economic development anymore is human capital. That's what's going to drive where we go.
You got 30 seconds, John. We'll give you the last word on this.
There it is again, skills and talent, skills and talent, skills and talent, right? What is the constant theme through all these things? It's sort of breaking this sort of myth that the only way for you to succeed is if you go to Purdue and get a degree like I did. Well, I'm happy for it, and I love the team at Purdue, but it isn't the only way. And it's the only way that we're going to be able to succeed in this new data-driven economy is to get everybody pulling the oar.
All right. Great conversation, as always, on The Insiders. John McDonald, Mo Meyerhoff, Mike Langeler, thanks very much.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back after this. Coming up next week, the founder of Indianapolis-based High Alpha's 10th spin-out, Anvil, will be here. We'll talk with Hoosier tech scene veteran Robin Fleming about software designed to reduce and prevent industry injuries. That story and a lot more next week. Thanks for joining us this week. I'm Gary Dick. Go out and make it a successful week.
Inside Indiana Business with Gary Dick is a production of Grow Indiana Media Ventures, with support from WFYI Productions.